appropriate feel-good flow. So this is I'm filming this mid-December, which is a very busy hustle-bustle time of the year for a lot of us, and sometimes when we feel like, gosh, I just do not have the time to slow down, that's when we need to slow down the most. So if you can take 30 minutes, anybody can take 30 minutes out of your day to do a feel-good, stretchy, connect back to your breath yoga flow. You will be so surprised. I always am. I always feel that way too. When I step off the mat and go back into my day, how much more in control of things I feel. Well, how much more in control of my reactions, my responses I feel. I guess we're never in control of our reactions, but we are always in control of the way we respond to any situation. All right, you don't need anything for this yoga flow. If you like to listen to music during your classes, I have linked a playlist in the description below the video. You can turn that music on, maybe stream the yoga flow from an iPad or the TV, music from your phone, or some combination of those two, or a computer in the mix. That's up to you. Make sure you have a mat, space around you to lift up a leg or bring your arms off to the side. But other than that, yoga is something for everybody because all you need to do it is a body and an open mind. Please meet me at the back of the mat. We're going to come into a child's pose to begin our class. So big toes together to touch, knees towards the wider edges of the mat. Sit your hips back onto your heels, crawl your fingertips forward, and relax your forehead down to the mat. Take a nice, deep inhale through your nose, drawing in as much breath as you possibly can. And an open mouth, powerful exhale, sigh it out. We're going to do 2 more of those. Deeper, fuller inhale. Imagine that there was an opening for the breath at the crown of your head and that you're drawing that breath all the way down your spine into your tailbone. And then as you empty out with that open mouth exhale, retrace the path back out. Again, deepest, fullest inhale yet. This time drawing that breath down into the pit of your belly, noticing your belly expand between your thighs, your rib cage expand between your thighs. And the most powerful, emptying, open mouth exhale yet. Seal your lips closed, and we're going to continue to take those powerful inhales deeply through the nose. And then with lips sealed and a slight constriction in the back of the throat, exhale through the nose, creating an audible, oceanic, almost Darth Vader-like sound with your breath. Just taking a couple of rounds here, perhaps noticing the count of the inhale, how long it takes you to inhale completely. And then matching that with your exhale. On your next inhale, think about lengthening your spine even more. And with your exhale, drop your shoulders and drop any baggage, anything that came before you or anything that you think is going to come once you step off this mat, and leave it off the mat. Using this breath for a moving meditation today, focusing on the inhales and the exhales, and I will guide us to linking them to our movements. On your next inhale, tent up onto your fingertips, lift your elbows away from the mat, exhale your shoulders down into their sockets, and we're going to thread our left arm underneath our right. So bringing the outer left shoulder and the temple of the head on the left to the mat. And you can bend the right elbow, you can keep the right arm straight, just noticing an opening in the outer left shoulder. Eventually, the chest is spiraling up towards the ceiling. Exhale, relaxing, melting onto the mat a little bit more. On your next inhale, press into those right fingertips, unthread the left arm, and as you exhale, sit back a little bit further. Keeping those little spider fingers. On your next inhale, lift your forehead. exhale, thread right arm underneath left, coming to rest on the outer right shoulder and the temple of the head on the right. And again, those left fingertips can be outstretched. The left arm can be bent with the elbow pointing up towards the sky. Or if you're a little bit more experienced and you want to tuck that left hand at the crease of the right hip, you can do that. Maintaining that same count for your inhales and your exhales. Begin to straighten back into that left arm, tenting up onto the fingers. Inhale, bring the right arm back to meet the left. Exhale, press your hips back even further. And as we inhale, come up into a tabletop pose. So in tabletop, we stack our shoulders over our wrists. All 10 fingers are spread nice and wide. Hips directly over the knees. Take an inhale, lengthen from the crown of your head to the tip of your tail. And as you exhale, extend your right leg straight back with the toes tucked. Take an inhale breath here, shift forward. And as you exhale, shift back within your range of motion, just really stretching into the calf and the Achilles. Following this pattern of breath, inhale, come forward until you are completely full of breath. And then exhale, slowly press it back, empty completely through the nose. Let's do that one more time. Inhale. Shoulders in front of the fingers, and exhale, heel back towards the floor behind you. Inhale, come back to neutral, so shoulders over wrists, and as you exhale, squeeze that right glute and lift the right leg straight back out in line with the right hip. So my toes are flexed back towards my knee. Yes, we are going to do a little bit of things that are hard in this practice, and that's okay, life is always hard. Remember, it's not your reaction you're trying to control, it's your response. Continue squeezing that glute. Inhale, and as you exhale, we're just going to tap those right toes over to the left. Inhale, heel in line with the hip. Exhale, tap the toes, maybe a little bit further over to the left, but keep your shoulders facing forward. Inhale, legs straight back. Exhale, tap. One more. Inhale, legs straight back. And exhale, tap your toes down. Keep them tucked to the left side of the mat. And we're going to gaze back over the left shoulder, trying to find the inside of the right heel. Continue pressing the right heel towards the top of your mat and creating that C shape in your side body. Lengthening down that entire right side body. And then come back to center. And we're going to press back into a little child's pose just for a moment. Give those arms a break. That's Charlie, the other dog. And like I said, life is never predictable. So we're just going to breathe through what's going on around us and focus on ourselves with our breath. Next inhale, come back up, tabletop. And as you exhale, extend the left leg straight back out of the left hip. Pressing through the heel, flexing the toes back towards the knee. Pull your belly button into your spine and knit your front ribs together to take any little dips out of the low back. Have a slight bend in my elbows. My gaze is forward, never back. One more inhale, lengthen from the crown of your head to the tip of your heel. And as you exhale, tap the left toes over to the right. Inhale, legs straight back out of the hip. And exhale, tap the toes over to the right, keeping the the shoulders square with the front of the mat. Inhale to find that length. And exhale, tap the toes. One more. Inhale, lengthen. And exhale, tap the toes. Keep them tucked under. Press into the heel. Keep your shoulders facing forward and shift your gaze back. Feeling that opening in the left side body. And when these poses get hard, check in with your breath. Do your best to slow it, control it, and match the inhales and the exhales. And then release, come back to tabletop. Now we're going to take some cat-cows. Inhale, cow pose, lift your gaze, melt your belly. And exhale, cat, tuck, round and curl. Press the earth away with your palms and your shins. Inhale, cow, imagine you're pulling your palms back towards your knees as you expand your collarbones and look up. Exhale, cat pose, tuck, round and curl, channeling that Halloween scaredy cat. One more round. Inhale, cow. And exhale, cat. Maybe even press into your shins this time. Pull your belly button back towards your spine. Inhale, back to tabletop. And we're going to cross our legs behind us. And we're going to come onto our backs for a little bit of core activation. Might not be what you were expecting in your yoga class, but core is part of life. It's definitely part of yoga. I'm going to move over here so I don't interfere with my sleeping princess here. And we're going to come onto our backs, tabletop the knees, and we're going to press our palms into our knees and our knees into our palms. And as you do that, feel your low back ground into the mat. And notice that slight tuck in your pelvis, right? So the pubic bone is tilting just slightly up towards your chin. And the harder you press your palms into your knees, knees into your palms, the deeper the core activation you're going to feel. And now try to tap back into that slow, steady breath here while things are hard. Right? Because off the mat, things often have a way of getting hard, but it's how we show up for those things that matters, right? And on your next exhale, bend your knees into your chest. Turn some circles to the right. Then stop. Turn some circles to the left. Massage the low back. Come back into that tabletop position. And bring your palms, your fingertips straight up over your shoulders. Hug your shoulders down into their sockets. And take an inhale breath here. And as we exhale, we're going to extend left leg to hover and the right arm behind you. Take an inhale, lengthen. Exhale, contract the core. Use the exhale to bring knee and hand back up. Other side, inhale, extend. Left thumb towards the mat, right toes hover off the mat, and exhale back through center. Inhale, lengthen right arm, left leg, pull the low back to the mat. Exhale, center. Inhale, right thumb works towards the mat, or left thumb, right heel. Inhale. And then exhale, switch it up. I want you to continue with your breath. The slower you move, the deeper the core activation. So at the top of the inhale, the fingertips and the toes are completely extended. And at the bottom of the exhale, the belly button draws completely back towards the spine. Let's do one more each side. All right, hug the knees into the chest. Just rock side to side. And then release the soles of your feet down to the mat with the knees bent. Feet no wider than hip width distance apart. Loop your shoulders down into their sockets. Take an inhale breath here. And as you exhale, press into all four corners of your feet. Squeeze your glutes and lift your hips. Inhale with control, one vertebra at a time, lowering the low back to the mat. And exhale, press into all four corners of the feet, squeezing the glutes, lighting up the backside body. So we activated the front of the core with our dead bugs, and now we're activating the back chain with our bridges, which will get us ready for our downward facing dogs. Let's do one more. Press into the feet, squeeze the knees like you're hugging a pillow or an imaginary beach ball between them. Squeeze the glutes, and we're going to hold for 4. You can do this. 3, 2, and 1. Nice. Hug your knees into your chest, and we're going to rock and roll the length of our spine 3 times. And on the 3rd time, we're going to come back up into our tabletop pose, and we're going to step our feet back into a high plank. Take an inhale breath, lengthen from the crown of your head to the heels. And as you exhale, pull your belly button back, in and up, and find a slight pelvic tilt, pubic bone tilting up towards the chin. Now take your gaze out slightly in front of you. Keep your head, neck, and shoulders in a straight line. And with your next exhale, lift your hips and come back into downward facing dog. Slight bend in the elbows, deep bend in the knees to bring your belly back towards your thighs, creating length from the tips of the fingers to the tailbone, and then keeping that length in the upper body, beginning to straighten into the legs. Heels never have to touch the ground, right? Just working in the direction of the ground. You can take a nice deep bend in your right knee, bring your left heel to the mat, and then inhale through center, and as you exhale, bend the left knee, bring the right heel to the mat. Let's do that one more time, each side. And then coming into stillness. On an inhale, gaze forward, and as you exhale with bent knees, slowly walk your feet behind your hands, coming into a forward fold, bringing belly to rest on thighs, and you can bring opposite pinky to the crook of the opposite elbow, swaying from side to side. Imagining that your low body is in cement, and the movement is from the waist up. You can nod your head yes, nod your head no, and just imagine any tension, any stressors just rolling off your shoulders onto the mat for the remainder of class. On your next exhale, release your fingertips to the mat, and with feet hip width apart or big toes together to touch, we're going to slowly roll up, tuck the tailbone under, keeping that C curve in the spine as we come up to standing in mountain pose. Pressing into all 4 corners of your feet. So mountain pose is an active standing pose. We're not just hanging out. We're squeezing the quads to lift the inner thighs. Tailbone is slightly tucked under, shoulders dropped down into their sockets, chest lifting towards the sky. Inhale. Fingertips together overhead. Exhale, hinge the hips, bend the knees, forward fold. Inhale, halfway lift, lengthen flat back, palms against the shins, shoulders draw back, head draws forward, crown of the head draws forward. Exhale, fold, plant your palms, step your feet back, high plank, top of a push-up, and from your knees or your toes, slowly lower with control until the entire front side body arrives on the mat simultaneously. Untuck the toes, inhale, cobra pose, little cricket wings with the elbows, looping the shoulders down and back into their sockets, gaze forward. Exhale, lower, and inhale through tabletop or up to high plank, and exhale, downward facing dog. We're gonna do that 2 more times. Inhale, gaze forward. Exhale, walk your feet, top of the mat, forward fold. Inhale, halfway lift, flat back. Loop your shoulders down into their sockets. Extend your chest and the crown of your head forward. Exhale, fold. And inhale, root, rise, powerful, strong legs. Tadasana, mountain pose. Exhale, forward fold. Uttanasana. Inhale, flat back, powerful core. Exhale, plant your palms, step your feet back, top of a plank, and from your knees or your toes, slowly lower all the way down to your belly. Untuck the toes, press the tops of the feet into the mat. Inhale, cobra pose, hug those elbows into the side body. Exhale, lower. Inhale, plank from knees or toes. And exhale, downward facing dog. 1 more time. Inhale, look forward to your thumbs. And exhale, walk your feet to the top of the mat. Forward fold. Inhale, halfway lift, flat back. Exhale, fold. And inhale, powerful legs, mountain pose. Exhale, forward fold. Hinge at the hips and beat knees bent. Inhale, halfway lift, flat back. Exhale, plant your palms. Step back to your high plank, and from your knees or your toes, slowly lower all the way down with control. Entire front body arrives at the same time. Inhale, cobra pose, which is a back bend. And exhale, lower. Inhale from knees or toes, high plank, and exhale, downward facing dog. Okay, moving on to our sun salutation B. As you inhale, gaze towards your thumbs, and as you exhale, step your feet behind your hands, forward fold. Inhale, flat back, strong core. Exhale, fold, and inhale, rise, Tadasana, mountain pose. Exhale is going to find us in chair pose. Bend your knees, sit your hips back into that imaginary chair, and gaze down to make sure that you can see your toes, that your knees aren't jutting out in front of your toes. Find that slight tuck under in the tailbone, and then your arms are either out at shoulder height with your pinkies facing in, or if you can keep that length in your spine and sit back in that chair, we're going to bring our biceps up by our ears. 1 more inhale. And exhale, forward fold, release. Inhale, halfway lift, flat back, loop the shoulders back, lengthen from the tailbone to the crown of the head. Exhale, plant your palms, step back to your high plank, pull your belly button in and up, and as you continue that exhale, lower all the way down to your belly. Inhale, cobra pose. Press the palms into the mat and imagine that you're pulling them back. Exhale, lower. Inhale, tabletop or high plank. And exhale, downward facing dog. Walk your feet in a little bit closer. And as you exhale, step your right foot up to your right thumb. And if it doesn't just get there, you can scooch it up, no big deal. Spin your left foot flat. Left toes face the top left corner of the mat. And rise, stacking your head over your shoulders, shoulders over your hips, into warrior one. So squaring the fronts of the shoulders to the front of the mat, and the fronts of the hips to the front of the mat. Exhale, windmill the palms down, step the right foot back to high plank, and we're going to meet in downward facing dog. So this time you can either flow through that cobra, or you can come into a full chaturanga from your knees or from your toes, hovering, elbows bent 90 degrees, pinned into the side body. Upward facing dog or cobra, gaze forward. And exhale, downward facing dog. Step your feet in closer to the midline. And as you exhale, step your left foot up to your left thumb. Spin the right foot flat, heel to heel alignment, pressing through the pinky edge of each foot as you come up to warrior one. Thinking about knitting those front ribs in. And then exhale, windmill the palms. Step back to plank and meet us in downward facing dog. Whether you flow through cobra, whether you come through chaturanga on your knees, into upward facing dog, which means only the tops of the feet and the hands are pressing into the mat, or cobra, where the lower body is on the mat, we'll meet in downward facing dog. We're going to do that one more time. Inhale, look to your thumbs. Exhale, step your feet behind your hands, forward fold. Inhale, halfway lift, flat back, powerful core. Exhale, fold. And inhale, root through the four corners of your feet with powerful legs to rise into Tadasana. Exhale, Uttanasana, forward fold. Inhale, chair pose. Sit back in your chair. Weight is back in your heels, but the balls of your feet are also pressing into the mat. Maybe your toes lift. Maybe bring your hips back a little bit more and then find that slight tuck in your pelvis. And then begin to extend the arms, shoulder height if you can do so without shrugging. Bring the fingertips up, biceps in line with the ears, gaze forward. Hug your inner thighs, inner knees in towards one another and embrace the shake. See where you can soften. Where can you guide that breath? Yes, this is hard. We can do hard things, I know you can. One more inhale, find length, and exhale, forward fold. Inhale, halfway lift, flat back. Exhale, plant your palms. Make your way through chaturanga or lowering all the way down. Inhaling to your back bend, cobra or upward facing dog, and exhaling to downward facing dog. And that series of movements right there is called a Vinyasa. The plank to chaturanga, up dog, down dog, or the plank to cobra to down dog is called a Vinyasa. Breathing here. We're going to flow through a series of standing postures. Step your feet in towards one another, and on an inhale, extend your right leg straight back up out of the right hip. Toes facing down towards the mat, foot is flexed and lifting with the inseam of the right leg. On your exhale, look forward, step the right foot to the right thumb. Keep your left hand planted on the mat and inhale, peel open to a simple twist. So imagine those right fingertips are lifting you up towards the ceiling. Your chest is spiraling up towards the ceiling. One more inhale. And exhale, bring the palm down to the mat. We're going to spin the back foot flat. This time, the arch of the front foot, the heel of the front foot intersects the arch of the back foot as we come up into a warrior two. So a 90-degree bend in the right knee. The back leg, the left leg is straight and strong, and the toes are slightly turning towards the top left corner of the mat. Extend your arms out, shoulder height, gazing gently over those right fingertips. On an inhale, flip your palm, reverse your warrior. Legs stay exactly the same. It's a side body bend, not a back bend. And the left fingertips crawl down the left leg. Reaching those right fingertips back and feeling that opening down the entire right side body. side angle, lengthening forward. Legs stay the same, bringing the right elbow to the inside of the right knee, and the left fingertips reach up towards the ceiling. So I'm spiraling towards the left. My right ribs are spiraling towards the left side of my mat. My chest is opening towards the ceiling, and my left ribs are peeling back. One more inhale, reach those left fingertips up, keeping that space between the right side body and the right leg. Finding your breath through this challenge. On your next exhale, windmill the palms to frame the right foot. Step the right foot back to meet the left, and we'll all meet in downward facing dog. Whether you flow through a vinyasa or you take the express route straight to downward facing dog. All right, we're going to do that on the other side. Take 2 breaths here to collect yourself in downward facing dog. Get your life together here with these 2 breaths. Ground the right foot and inhale, lift the left leg straight back out of the left hip. Toes. I was going to say a floint and I said a toy. I'm having trouble with the English language. A floint in the toes. So the toes are flexed and the ball of the foot is pressing back. Lifting from the inseam. Exhale, we're going to cat the upper body like we did in those cat-cows, pulling the belly button back towards the spine. Low lunge, stepping the left foot to the outside of the left hand. My feet are on railroad tracks, not a tightrope, so if you need to walk that left foot over to the left a little bit, walk it over to the left. Ground the right hand underneath the right shoulder. Peel open, opening towards the left side of the mat. Isometrically thinking about pulling that left hip back. Maybe even bring your fingertips to the left hip. And then think about drawing the right hip forward. So that creates a scissoring in the inner thighs that we're going to utilize as we advance in our practice and come into a high lunge. On your next exhale, bring the left hand down. Spin the right foot flat. Check in to make sure that you have that heel to arch alignment, like if there was a line from your left heel to your right arch. And inhale, ground powerfully through those feet and come up to warrior 2. So I'm stacking my head over my shoulders, over my hips. Give a good press into the pinky edge of each foot to stay powerful in the legs. And then find a soft gaze out over those left fingertips. And the left arms are very active here. I'm squeezing, hugging my shoulder blades in towards one another, but imagine that something is pulling your fingers in opposition as you continue to snuggle the shoulder blades in. Inhale, flip the palm up, and exhale, peaceful warrior, reverse warrior. Side body stretch, walk the right fingertips down the right leg, and find length from the left hip to the fingertips. Come back to your breath here in this challenge. Take an inhale. And as you exhale, legs stay the same. Extended side angle. Bring that left elbow to the inside of the right knee. And reach the right fingertips up towards the ceiling. Loop your shoulders down and back into their sockets. And give your inner thighs a squeeze to stay steady here. This is challenging. What's your response? Right, there's always a space between a reaction and a response. And oftentimes that space that we cultivate between the reaction and the response means the world, right? Exhale, windmill the palms down. Step back, high plank, your vinyasa, or downward facing dog. We're going to do that one more time, each side. So not thinking about what's already come or what you know is to come. Just being present with the breath flowing through the movements. On an inhale, extend your right leg straight back, out and up. And as you exhale, step the or the right foot to the outside of the right fingertips. Peel open, simple twist. Exhale, right hand to the mat. And then inhale, we're gonna come up into a crescent lunge. So this is where we're gonna use that scissoring of the inner thighs. So I'm on the toes of my back foot, on the ball of my foot, and my left heel is lifted off of the mat. You can always take a knee down here to the mat if that helps, or if you want to stay in this high crescent lunge, stacking head over shoulders, over hips. One more inhale, and from here as we exhale, we're going to come into that warrior two. Heel to arch alignment, left toe slightly turned in, right knee 90-degree bend, left leg straight. Press through the pinky edge of each foot to keep those legs strong. Gaze out over the right fingertips. Inhale, peaceful warrior. And exhale, extended side angle. Take an inhale, reach those left fingertips even higher. And exhale, palms to the frame, the right foot. Pivot the back toes. Step back, your plank, and flow through your vinyasa, which could be directly to downward facing dog. One more time. Inhale, lift the left leg. Exhale, step the left foot to the left thumb. Make sure that the feet are hip width distance apart and peel open into that simple twist. Guiding the shoulders down into their sockets. Inhale to lift even higher. And exhale, bring the palms down to the earth. Ground through the entire sole of the left foot. And inhale, come up. Crescent lunge. So thinking about guiding that left hip back, right hip forward. And then settling in, using your breath. Inhale, lifting your waist up and out of your hips. And as you exhale, peel it open, warrior two. So finding that same scoop in the pelvis that we found multiple places in our plank. So guiding the tailbone down, pubic bone drawing up. Extend the arms, hug the shoulder blades in, find that soft gaze. Inhale, reverse warrior, peaceful warrior. Exhale, use the muscles in the side body, extended side angle. Maintain that space between your left side body and the left thigh. So inhaling, thinking about creating space along the left side body. And exhaling, spiraling up towards the ceiling. One more inhale. Exhale, palms frame the front foot. Step the left foot back to meet the right, high plank. Flow through your vinyasa. Or downward facing dog. And we will all meet in downward facing dog. I'm going to move over to my mat since my partner has decided that she no longer needs it. All right, inhale. Uh-oh, she heard me talking. Gaze to the front of the mat, step feet behind the hands, forward fold. Halfway lift on the breath in, gaze towards the horizon, lengthen. Exhale, fold. And inhale, rise. Tadasana, mountain pose. I'm going to work on a little bit of balance here. Coming into a tree pose. So I want you to hug your outer hips in. Remember, we're staying powerful in these legs. So the right inner thigh is hugging up. And you're going to bring the sole of that left foot either to the calf, the shin, or the upper inner thigh of the right leg, but never against the knee. And if you have a wall close by, use the wall to find your balance. Now, hug the outer hips in, point the left knee down, and bring your hands to your focus point, something that is not moving, that you can almost stare through. So a soft gaze, never holding on too tightly, right? Think about that. Like when you go to the beach and you take sand in your hands, if you try to hold on to all that sand, it just starts pouring out. But sometimes when you take a lighter grip on it, you can keep more in your hand. It just kind of all stays there. And I think that life is sometimes that way too. And believe me, this is daily for me, the reminder too. Like sometimes we feel like we want to control everything so much, but just breathing and relaxing is so powerful. If you want to grow your tree, you can bring your fingertips up. And if you lose your balance, you know what? You're human. We all lose our balance. It's not how many times we fall, it's how many times we get back up. And now bring your hands back to heart center, bring them to your hips, and we're going to step back into a warrior two. So that right knee is bent. I know that right leg is probably talking to you. And on an inhale, we're going to come up into a star pose. So the heels are in, the toes are out. Tailbone drawing down, hip points pressing forward. And it's just a really nice opener for the front side body. And as we exhale, horse pose, sitting down into a plie squat. You're probably like, I've had enough. Well, you can come into child's pose anytime. It's your decision, right? But sometimes we need to try something that we don't think we can do to find out that we actually can. So I'm really putting my mind into this outer knee as I press it out towards my heels. Now I'm going to bring my thumbs to the insides of my knees to kind of guide them open a little bit. Find that scoop in my tailbone. And I'm going to drop my right shoulder. Oh, such a good stretch for that inner right thigh. Come back through center, long, tall, proud chest. And exhale, drop the left shoulder. Press into the knees, open up. Inhale, big burst open, back to star pose. Exhale, warrior two. Inhale, straighten the right leg, bump the hips back, reach forward. Exhale, Trikonasana, triangle pose. Creating that triangle shape. Slight bend in that front right knee, back leg is straight and powerful. And I'm hugging the backs of my hips in. Inhale, warrior two. And exhale, windmill the palms. Step back to a high plank. And meet in downward facing dog, however you choose to get there. Inhale, forward gaze. Exhale, step your feet behind your hands, forward fold. Inhale, lift halfway, flat back. Exhale, fold. And inhale, root through those powerful feet, powerful legs to rise to standing. Palms to heart center. Hugging the outer hips in, finding that tailbone scoop. And then coming into tree pose, either with the sole of the right foot against the left ankle, the inside of the left calf, or you can pick up that foot and bring it to the inner left thigh. So again, if there's a wall close by, grab onto that wall for balance. Now that we've come into the pose, I really want you to focus on hugging those outer glutes, squeezing them. Bringing palms to heart center first. Imagine those roots growing down through that left foot, stabilizing you as you lift through that trunk. And then if you want to grow your tree, you can grow your tree. Keeping your gaze on that drishti, that fixed point, without trying to stare too hard, maybe just staring through it. And if your tree is blowing in the wind today, your tree is blowing in the wind today. That's okay. It's just a pose to work on balance. Slow and steady breath. And on your next exhale, bring your hands to your hips. And with control, we're going to step back to warrior two. Heel to arch alignment, pressing through the pinky edge of each foot. Gazing out softly over those left fingertips. Big inhale, star pose, heels in, toes out. Probably feel some opening in the front of the hips here. And exhale, horse, sink it down. Thumbs to the insides of the knees. So my chest is open, I'm not hunching forward. Loop the shoulders down and back. And then this time I'm gonna drop my left shoulder first, pressing my palm into my left knee to open it. Inhale through center, long chest, long body. And exhale, stretch the right. Big inhale, star pose, straighten the legs. Exhale, warrior two. Inhale, straighten the right leg, keep a micro bend in the right knee. Exhale, lengthen forward like we do an extended side angle, coming into triangle pose, Trikonasana. So, my right ribs are peeling back, my left ribs are peeling under, my chest is eventually opening up towards the ceiling. Maybe bring that right hand back a little bit. Lift the corners of your mouth. And then bend the left knee, warrior two. Windmill the palms down to the mat. And this will be our final vinyasa. If you choose to take it, we're coming to your final downward facing dog. This practice, noticing how different you feel from that first downward facing dog, and then coming to sit on the mat. Feet on the mat, knees bent. We're gonna roll down onto our backs, hugging both knees into the chest, finding a rock from side to side. Taking these final postures here to really connect back to that breath before we end our class. Go ahead and bring the soles of the feet back to the mat. Cross your right ankle in front of your left knee and come into a figure four stretch here. So interlacing the hands behind the left hamstring. Putting your mind into the outer right hip. Really thinking about guiding that open, pressing the outer right knee towards the right corner of the mat. And breathe. And then releasing the hands, bringing the sole of the left foot back to the mat and crossing the right leg. And we're going to switch it out, lifting the left foot away from the mat, crossing the left ankle at the front of the right knee. Bringing the mind into the outer left hip, outer left knee, opening them towards the left. And then with an exhale, use your core strength to lift that right knee. Interlace your hands behind the right thigh. Exhale, relax your shoulders. What else can you leave? What else can you get rid of? What can you let go of here? Where can you soften? Both in your mind and in your body. Feel even, release the hands, bring the right foot back to the mat, left foot back to the mat. Hug both knees into your chest. We're going to extend the left leg. We're going to hug the right knee out and around, the right ribs in towards the shoulder. And we're going to come into a gentle twist. Keeping that right shoulder on the mat. so it's probably just the right toe that touches the left side of the mat. And then thinking about growing some space, creating some space from the right hip, up the right side body, and into the right shoulder. And then gently come back to center, hug the knees in, reset, and then the same thing, hug the left knee in, extend the right leg, and then exhale, gentle twist. Left arm out like a cactus or a T, depending on what's more comfortable for you, but make sure that both shoulders stay on the mat. So we're not wrenching the left knee over to the mat, I'm just resting my left big toe on the mat. And then come back to center, hug both knees in. Take the deepest inhale you've taken yet as you draw your forehead up towards your knees. And an open mouth exhale as we find Shavasana, corpse pose. Heels come towards the top corners of the mat, so we have a wide base in our legs. Our toes are facing up. Give a little press into the back of your head to snuggle your shoulders down into their sockets. And then lay your arms down by your sides with your palms facing up. Come back to a natural rhythm of breath. And allow yourself to be heavy, to just melt onto the mat here. If you have 5 minutes or more, I invite you to stay in Shavasana for as long as you can. If you're ready to move on with me, begin to wiggle your fingers and your toes. Extend your arms long overhead and rock your head side to side for a nice massage for the back of your skull. Bend your knees, draw your heels in towards your tush, and come to a supported fetal position on your right side. So right bicep is cradling your head. Your left palm is resting on the earth. And this is our transition pose from our yoga practice on our mat into our yoga practice off our mat. Carefully press up into a cross-legged seat, bringing your palms together at heart center, and just taking a moment here to acknowledge yourself for showing up, for taking this time for yourself. And what I meant by transition from yoga on the mat to yoga off the mat isn't that I'm expecting you to be doing Warrior 2 and chaturangas all day long, unless, if you want to, you can. But what I mean is using your breath and using the tools that you've learned in your practice when times get tough, when things aren't as you expected. What did you do on your mat? And maybe utilizing that off your mat. So before you respond to your reaction, take a deep inhale through your nose and a deep open mouth exhale, or a couple of them, and just see what happens. Thank you for practicing with me today. Until the next time we see each other, stay